Alrighty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another weekly update. Hope everybody is having a lovely weekend. And with that being said, dive into the TA. We're going to kick it off here with the indices. We're going to go over SPY, QQQ, IWM, and then we are going to go over the Mag 7 stocks. And then I have some trade ideas at the end of the video for you. All right, so we're going to start off on the weekly charts. I'm just going to point out pretty much everything you can, throw at us here. Anything you're going to take a look at that, moves with the market, closed out in a pretty bullish manner. You do have a bullish engulfing candlestick over here on SPY. You do have a bullish engulfing candlestick on QQQ. You do have a bullish engulfing candlestick on IWM. And you also have a pretty bullish candlestick over here on DIA. Don't mind this guy. This guy's a lagger. Point is, this is not something you should be bearish on. In the last video, saying is this rally just getting started? The rally might have just been getting started. We had a pullback got bought. We are finally about to see a bullish crossover here on the daily time frame. The weekly time frame, like we were pointing out, you have that bullish engulfing candlestick. I will just remind everyone, you had the weekly RSI oversold over here. I was pointing out, I know people are, real bearish. I know everyone's real bearish, but we don't know if we're even going to come down to make a new low. And if you do make a new low, to be buying that low. It's going to put in a weekly bullish divergence, and then we're going to have a major bottom, and then we probably rally back to all-time highs. All right, that's the clear as day money-making opportunity if we get it. But we're probably not just going to start it next week. We're probably not going to start falling off a cliff here again. We are likely to continue higher, in my personal opinion. We're probably going to test the golden pocket, and then maybe we're going to sell off that down to new lows. Or you could just come back down here, maybe bounce off 510, and then you're back on your way. Who knows? All right, but if we're going to get some golden pocket inception here, then this is a path we're going to be following along with, okay? Reject off of this golden pocket right around the 21 EMA there. You can add on your moving average, all right? So you can easily throw on a 200 daily moving average here, and we'll see where that is as well. We'll make it a yellow line. Okay, so that's in the weekly time frame. But what about the daily time frame, guys? Well, it's also right in the golden pocket. All right, so I'm not saying we're going to be just pushing straight up here, but I do think it's likely that we're going to continue this rally with how things closed out last week. You have a bunch of downtrends being broken here. You have a bunch of very bullish looks here on weekly charts. This is probably not something that's immediately going to get faded. This is probably something that is going to give us a little boost. All right, you're finally getting your relief over here. And then, I have a feeling we're probably going to get sellers stepping in somewhere in the golden pocket. And then we would end up, selling either somewhere over here, somewhere down here into the next golden pocket, or you're going to break under here and we're going to come down and make a new low. We really have no idea, but for the time being, we're going to trade whatever is in front of us. And right now, we have a bunch of bullish charts with a bunch of bullish setups. All right, so over here on the daily time frame, you did just break out of this downtrend. You broke this trend line. You got a touch point, touch point, touch point, touch point, and you broke out of it on Thursday. Friday, you had the confirmation candlestick. You pulled back. You found buyers off of 544.28. All right, so you got to break and retest off of that level right there. And then you continued pushing. You closed above 549.68. That was the big level right here we're going to be paying attention to. The next big level is going to be the next breakdown spot, which is at 575.35. That is where, all of this really started. You fell off a cliff here. You retested it, and then, you went cliff diving for sure. All right, so on the upside over here on SPY, we're watching 553.68. 558.03 above there, guys. 0.618 Fibonacci retracement levels at 563, and then we have 567.42, and then that big spot 575.35. Now that is still going to be 25 points above current price. I don't know if we're going to get up there. I can't guarantee we get up there, but I can point out you have the weekly 21 EMA right here. Usually when we retest it from underneath, we get rejection. So that is something that we should all keep in mind here. That is going to come in right over here around 565. You're going to have the 200 daily moving average around 575, around our big breakdown level. So I'm assuming either that level or that spot right here is going to hold. All right, either right there at the 0.618 fib, or we're going to come up and test 575.35, and then we reject there. So that is what I think is next. I think we're going to get up there, and I think we're going to reject one of those spots. But we do have big tech earnings this week. We have Meta over here on Wednesday. We have Microsoft also on Wednesday. We have Amazon after the close on Thursday. And then we also have Apple on Thursday. We already had Google. All right. So Google earnings came out. I'm just going to point out, I think this is the weakest Mag 7 stock right now. I think this should not be a focus, even though you are retesting right there, 163.24. That's kind of where you broke out from. But you had a gap and fade, whereas the market did not do that. All right. So that was the only Mag 7 stock showing real weakness there on Friday. Everything else is rallying. So I would not focus on the thing that was selling, which would be Google. Don't focus on that guy if you were focusing long. All right, that is your, relative weak Mag 7 stock right now, whereas everything else it's looking pretty good. We're going to go over it in this video. Come back over here to SPY though, so we know what we're watching on the upside. What about the downside? Well, on the downside, we have 549.68, 547.43, and 544.28. All right, if you give up 544.28, we're going to be watching 533.50. Okay, and you don't want to give that up. Let's look at it this way. You want to hold the 21 EMA. Now that you've finally really gotten above it here, it's clear as day. Price wants to continue pushing. It's not like over here where you got above it for a day and then you fell flat on your face. You got above it here. You're struggling over here. You're fighting with it. You got above it, and then you confirmed. And you also had the downtrend break right there, as well as your break and retest off 544.28. So we're looking at buy dips into 544.28, but I do think there's the chance we come down to 533.50 if, we are to start this week off with a pullback. Aside from that, I think we're probably going to push up into this area. Whether you reject or not, it's anyone's guess. But I can definitely point out, you see red cloud, okay, green cloud, support, okay, 21 EMA is support. Okay, and it just continued, which is that white line. So it continues being your support. Well, underneath it, rejection. Okay, over here, I understand you didn't sell. Okay, but you did the first time you got underneath and tested it. You rejected. Well, guys, we got underneath. We didn't test it yet, so probably gonna get rejection. We'll see what happens. But over here, you got pretty close rejection. Not over there. All right. But, over here, you got some selling right around it. So, all I'm saying is you probably aren't just going to bust right through it on that first week, which tells us if we get the bounce to start off the week, look for the sell. Okay. That's really how that's what it's setting me up for is, if we get the bounce to start off the week, then we're not going to be looking for that bounce to continue into the end of the week. All right. We have the 200 daily moving average here, as well as the spot we broke down from. And then we also have the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement, as well as the weekly 21 EMA right here at 563. So 563 and 575, your expected sellers. Okay. All right. So that is SPY, guys. Let's just look over here, guys. This is why you don't want to be breaking five. You really don't want to. All right. So you want to hold 544.28 because if you break under there, you don't really have anything here. Okay. Like all the action happened up here at 544.28 and then down here at 533.50. All right. Plenty of action going on down there. If you break under there, you're giving up the 4-hour 21 EMA right there. But more importantly, the 21 EMA here on the daily time frame, if you retest it, you want to hold it. All right, you want to hold this area. So you don't even want to come down here. And if you do come down here, bulls, you better hold it. Because if not, we're probably coming down. We're coming back down. And underneath there, 524.98, 520.07, 510.27. And then it's clip. Okay. Lose 510.27. I don't care that you have the golden pockets in down there. You're probably just going to make a new low. But with how things are looking, it would look really funky to me if on all of these weekly charts we have this leading straight into, a new leg down, I just don't think that's going to happen. I think we're probably going to have 1 or 2 weekly candlesticks that print somewhere up here. And maybe, in the form of dojis, maybe we get a spinning top up here. Maybe we get a, maybe spinning top from a gap up to start off the week. Who knows? All right. Shooting star candlestick. Who knows? But we're looking for some sort of reaction up here. All right. So that's SPY. We'll go over QQQ. It has a very similar look over here in the weekly time frame. Closed out with the bullish engulfing candlestick. Not the best volume. But it's looking really good, looking strong over here. Just don't look at the volume, don't look at it, and you'll be fine. Fresh downtrend break, just like SPY over there. You did break above the 21 EMA, came back the next day to retest it. Okay, well, it was the same day pretty much to retest it, but you opened there and then you flipped it that next day, and then you broke above resistance. All right, on Friday. You are now above your 565, 567 supply zone there. Now that you're above there, we're going to be watching the above levels at 472.91, 479.56, 485.84, and then you are going to have the 0.618 fib from the whole move down. That is going to be at 488.50. All right. So, right here, you're at the 50% retracement. Above here, the next big spot is going to be 485.84 to 488. Which also has the 200 daily moving average, which if we get that close, I assume we're probably going to come up here and test that, which is going to be at 490. Well, it's 491.50, but it's around 490, all right? So 485 to 490. This is going to be a reaction spot that we're going to be paying attention to, all right? Don't think you can't just bust straight up there. We can bust straight up there. That's only a 3% move, guys. Are you guys forgetting the 3% move you literally had right over here? All right, it just takes one more of these guys and we're there. It just takes one more of these guys and we're there. All right, over here, you're up 4% intraday. You still close the day up 3%. 2%. I take it back. You gave back quite a bit there. All right. But, two more mediocre days. We're up here at this key spot. I know it looks far away, but it's really not. It is really not. And you definitely have a look across the board that can fuel a move into this area. All right, so that's what you're watching on QQQ. On the downside, it prices to pull back. All right, reject 472.91. All right, pull back underneath there. We're watching 467.83, 465.05. You don't want to lose 465.05. From there, you're going to be paying attention to the 21 EMA here, which is around 458. Under there, you got this zone. Guys, if you lose 450, we're probably coming back down. All right. So set your alert for down here like I have it. That's, you're probably going to die alert and you're probably making a new leg lower. And then, all right, what comes after death? Rebirth. Okay. Rebirth 2-hour markets. All right. Come down here, tag the 200 weekly MA, put in the bullish divergence here on the weekly RSI, and then let's rip to kingdom come. Okay. That's the game plan. If we see it, we take full advantage of it. Okay. In the meantime, you can easily trade what is in front of you because we don't have that scenario yet. When you have that scenario, I think it's a good idea to go balls to the walls. Is it financial advice? No. Will I be going balls to the walls? Yeah. All right, guys, we're gonna have a market bottom being carved out, and just know it's not going to be immediate. It could take time like this to base out, but eventually you get this and you get that. And then you pull back and you buy every pullback because it just keeps going up. All right. I think a lot of people got so freaking bearish on this thing. I'm telling you, if we make a new low, it's going to set up this beautiful opportunity. And you're going to have this market back shortly after. Within 6 months, you will have another opportunity to start a cycle again. And it's going to be amazing. All right. But who knows if we're even going to return down to the low. Do you know how strong this thing looks? Look at that thing. Okay. It came down. The weekly RSI was already oversold. We knew that was, taking place there. We knew it's probably not a good idea to be trying to short over here. Okay. And the second VIX did this. All right. The weekly RSI closed back underneath 70. We knew it was probably going to start crushing. Why? Because that is what happened every single other time it ever got up there since inception. Every other time, it crushed for weeks to months afterwards. What has happened? So far, 2 weeks in, we're continuing the crush, baby. We are continuing the crush. All right. So that's what we got cooking over here. SPY and QQQ, you know the levels, but you know also you're bullish. Okay. Buy the dips. If you get the dips, we like the dips. All right. Now let's go over the Mag 7 stock. We'll quickly take a look at IWM here. You have this very tight 3-day range here. This thing looks like it's about to break up. It honestly, you're just watching 196.70, 199.34, and then 201.99. I'm pretty confident this thing is going to get up into the zone. This thing looks like it's about to bust up, but you can see it over here on the weekly time frame. All right, small caps are participating in the rally. Got the bullish engulfing candlestick. This is going to be a big spot. Don't expect to just get right up into it, or not into it. Don't expect to bust right up through it, but it's probably going to get into it. Over here, 196.70 to 201.99. That's your supply zone, big time on the weekly time frame. That's IWM. What do we got cooking over here on DAA? Well, guys, all right, do you want to see where the bear market bottomed? It's over here around the 200 weekly moving average. What happened over here about the 2023 correction? All right, August into October, July into it was, it really started in August, though. I remember it. What happened? 200 weekly moving average. Okay, what happened this time around? 200 weekly moving average. All right, do we notice anything else that's similar? Oh, weekly RSI is pretty much in oversold territory. Oh, right over here, pretty much got into oversold territory. If we come down, which, I don't know, because right now it looks like we're going to have that before having that. Don't let me get you all bowled up right here, because I'm definitely clear as day laying out a game plan here for SPY and QQQ, where you go a little higher and then you find sellers somewhere. I don't know exactly where, but somewhere you are very likely to get your seller stepping in. All right, and maybe even overthrow it there. I'm telling you, in the golden pocket, guys, I know this move right here, it can lead to this move, but then you might need more structure to then lead to that move. All right. And to make that structure, you might go something like this. And then in the end, what do you have? You are going to have an inverse head and shoulders pattern or some sort of bullish structure to then give you the move up there. But you're probably not just going to have the V-shaped recovery that a lot of us would want, which is why you can make more money the other way. This is why you are going to take your profits in here just in case we do get that pullback. Okay, and maybe you start looking at short setups there, okay, because we are anticipating the pullback. And then, all right, maybe things fail to start breaking down and you start breaking back up, and then you have, very high likelihood that you're just going to continue. And then you trade that way. But for the time being, we trade what's in front of us. We trade bullish for the time being. And then once we start approaching the areas we talked about at the beginning of the video, all right, you start being cautious on the long side. You start maybe even getting bearish once you start seeing sellers step in. All right, I'm going to show you something that's very, 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 very extremely likely to pop up once we start reversing, or not once we start reversing, but when we are going to be reversing. I'm going to show you how you can play it. Okay, you got your bearish divergence there, right? Well, I was looking for the pullback. You didn't get much of a pullback, but we definitely did see the 15-minute RSI reset. I'm sorry I didn't have a Thursday video. After a certain time, none of you guys are watching the videos. So, I figure out in my head, it's probably not worth recording a video tonight. But, this bad boy was carving out the divergence the whole time. Well, when it's looking like this for 2 freaking days, you're probably going to get a pullback. We're probably going to get another one of these guys forming. Okay, it's the same thing. We get the bullish divergence at the bottom that form. Okay, it's something like over here. You want to see these in real time? Come trade with me. Link is going to be down below. I'll be live streaming every day. All right, and then you will see all of this stuff in real time, so you can take action. If you don't know how to take action, you could take action with me. All right, guys. But you are probably at some point going to get these building, and it's not going to be picture perfect like that, but at some point you get this crap building out like every single other time, and then you're like, oh, it's been doing this for a whole day now, we should probably start looking for it to pull back. And maybe, just maybe, it happens right here into the 0.618 fib, All right, maybe you slightly overthrow it, get to the 565 psychological level. All right, and then you start seeing the structure break down. You come up for the high. Oh, what is it though? It's a lower high, and then you break under there. All right, and then you start seeing your 15-minute cloud flip bearish. Okay, and you know you've had these, so you know you're looking to play that sell, and then you catch the perfect sell. And since we had an absolute ripper of a move with barely any pullback over here and not much over here, maybe it scares the crap out of a lot of people and does something like that. And maybe you started playing short up there and you catch a really nice move down. All right. So, you know, ideally, this is what we're looking at. And maybe it goes something like this. Okay. Maybe it's going to, you know, skip this part right here and just go something like this. Or maybe we get the gap up that I think is kind of more probable, but I do at the same time think it's very logical to be expecting a lower wick to form this week. Okay. But at the same time, it could just, you know, be a very little lower wick right there. All right. Maybe beginning of the week. And then boom, you get bought up. Regardless, I think you're going a little higher. I think you can easily, you know, shove your head up into 575 all the way down to, you know, where we were looking at before at the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement there at 563. Okay, so those are the indices, guys. Let's quickly go over the Magnificent 7 stocks. All right. As you saw there on the weekly time frame, you're kind of coiled up here as far as price goes. It would look really freaking weird to see this thing just get a big fat red candle down. I find it very unlikely. Can it happen? Yes. Are you underneath the 21 EMA here on the weekly time frame? Yes. Could this all be some weird wonky looking bear flag? Yes. Do I think it's going to happen? No. All right. I think this is much more likely to be base. You clear as they got the downtrend break on Friday, break and retest off of 537.88. That is personally what we were watching at the beginning of the day. See if we got that right over here at the game plan for Meta. All right, so this was gapping right into the trend line this morning. We'll be right at the 21 EMA as well. All right, I'm honestly leaning towards calls off 537.88 to 543 area. All right, so that, and then, oh, what is that? The 15-minute RSI should be oversold if price gets down there. It should. Was it though? Did it? Did it go exactly as planned? Yeah, actually it did. All right. It actually went exactly as planned. Right down to the T, 537.88. Guys, if your levels are not giving you reactions like this, or like this, like that, okay? Or like any of the what you see me go over, you know, 4 to 5 times a week. Just understand, you need to change the levels, okay? They should be giving you reactions, and if you are, you know, not putting the right levels on your charts, just know that your map for following price action is skewed, which means you're probably not going to be able to accurately trade off of it. All right. And then technical analysis, it's worthless. Okay. You got to make sure you're accurate. If you have, you know, trouble with that, I will help you out with SPY and QQ, you know, 4 to 5 times a week over here in the weekly updates. I'll do my best to cover the Mag 7 stocks and then give you some trade ideas for the following week. All right. But throughout the week, if you just want to, you know, have a game plan every single day, you want to come even trade with me in the morning. All right. Come trade with me. The link is going to be down below. But I do definitely try and do my best here for absolutely no cost to you 4 to 5 times a week. SPY and QQ, you can get all of your levels you need over there. And honestly, anybody can have a really good time just trading SPY and QQ. I promise, whether it be options, futures, shares, you can always do a good job just getting the price action down on SPY and QQ. Over here on Meta, though, break and retest off 537.88, off that trend line as well. If you can get above 553.30, you are probably going to fill this, you know, gap in price here. I know it's not an actual gap. You actually did have a gap over here. All right. But what I'm really pointing out is that you got a straight rejection off of here. You straight sold through this area. You straight pumped through this area. You gapped down through this area. You got bought up from over here and then danced around here and then boom, got slammed down. You clear as they got a lot of reactions here. You don't like staying in the middle here. If you start getting above 550, 330, the bottom of this little area we speak of, you're probably going to head to the top of the area we speak of, which is going to be 580. You're going to have the 200 daily moving average sitting also right there at 580. That is also where you broke down from. This right here is your idea. If price doesn't present it before earnings, I'm sorry, guys, you're going to miss it. And it's okay. You don't have to gamble into earnings because neither you or I or the next guy or that other guy all the way over there, they don't know what's going to happen after earnings. But I will definitely tell you things have a pretty jolly look going into earnings. Now, moving over here to Amazon. Amazon has earnings on Thursday. It is not looking too shabby if you ask me. Bullish engulfing over here on the weekly time frame. Yes, you have increasing volume. It's not anything crazy like you had over here at your bottom. All right. But the big spot over here is going to be around that 200 daily moving average, up around 198.34. You do have this little double bottom formation you got going right here. Okay. The neckline for that is going to be right here at 192.65. If you do break above 192.65, okay, you have earnings all the way out here on Thursday. For all we know, Wednesday earnings is going to lift you overnight. We don't know. All right. But I'll tell you, these charts, they're not necessarily things you got to be bearish on. Okay. If it pulls back, we're buying dips into 184.40. You don't want to lose 184.40. If you lose 180.19, then you are probably going to be, coming down, decently lower and potentially making a new low. In the weekly time frame, it just doesn't look like that's going to happen. This would look really wonky if you just see a red bar. Okay, so I don't think that's going to happen with how the market is really set up here. I think we are likely to move higher here in the short term. You do have earnings, guys. The premiums actually aren't too bad priced into earnings. They're still going to be moving, and if you can catch a $5 move, I think you are rocking with a 60% or so gain on the May 16 calls. I'm overall liking like a lot of the looks over here on Mag 7 stocks, and then you have NVDA. All right, we'll go over NVIDIA after that, after the Mag 7 stocks. Well, it is a Mag 7, but it starts the semiconductors. All right, but over here on Amazon, if you could just break above 192.65, it's probably going to have a good time. And you're probably going to test this 200 daily moving average, which is around 199. 198.34 is the resistance level around there that you are going to pay attention to. The weekly 21 EMA is also going to be right at 198.34. So what are we going to have, guys? We have the weekly 21 EMA. We have horizontal 198.34 resistance. And we also have the 200 daily moving average, all right around our 198.34 resistance. You also have the 50% retracement right above at 202. You are very likely to test that area. I don't know if it's going to be before or after earnings, but I thinking with how things are set up here that this is probably going to continue with another, gap and go kind of day here. Maybe we can do this all in one day. Probably not. It's probably going to take 2 trading sessions at least there. But I do think this area is probable over here on Amazon. Moving over here to Apple, guys. Earnings are on Thursday. Does that look bearish to you? No, it does not. But I'm not going to say it looks the best out of all of these, okay? But at the end of the day, we have a big spot over there, 219.38. What does that align with? The weekly 21 EMA. What does that also align with? 200 is way above, okay? I was definitely about to say it aligns with 200. I am wrong. It does not align with the 200. That is up around 230. Regardless, all right? That is where you broke down from. That is, horizontal resistance right there, as well as right around the 21 EMA. And like I was saying, all right, we're just likely to get rejection on the first week that we test that bad boy, okay? So you test this white line, which is around that 219.38 resistance. Yeah, all right, it's probably going to be met with rejection. Now, if you can get above 212.94, this thing could get parabolic all the way up to 219.38. It could get that real nice move. I wouldn't be chasing this guy. I think there are nicer setups to be playing right now. But it is up to you. I do think this looks not so bad. You like dips into 203.51. That is the level to hold. If you do not hold there, watch 201.16. But if you give that up, you're probably going lower. You're going to have 198.23, but you really don't want to, like, really 203.51. If you give up 203.51, you risk the golden pocket test, which is all the way down here around 198.23. If you get down here, like, that does not look strong. Okay. You bounced. You had this high, right? Okay. You pull back. You have a higher low. Well, if this thing just stalls out right here and comes all the way down here, that looks like it's going to be rolling over. That looks like it's probably about to break down. You don't want that look, okay? So 203.51, that is the bulls level to hold right there. You have the 21 EMA in there. You got like rejection for a straight week, week and a half here. All right, rejection over here once you got underneath it. You want to hold right here, okay? And if you can, you're buying dips off this level and you're going to target 208.42. Earnings are at the end of the week. They're on Thursday, which means, all the way up into Thursday's close, you could be trading these premiums before earnings. They're probably going to hold their value. They might not move as much as they normally would, but they probably will hold their value better than they normally would. So keep that in mind. Yes, I like it. I do. Microsoft, this thing, it's a bad boy. All right. And this bad boy is getting ready to move on the weekly time frame. That thing looks bananas. All right. You pull back to the golden pocket. You found buyers right off the 0.786 fib. Weekly RSI was oversold. And this was our key over here. This is why we started looking for a bottom over here, thinking we were going to, either you're going a little lower, you put in the weekly bullish divergence, or the bottom is already in. All right. And Microsoft really was the main ticker to tell us that because it had the picture perfect break and retest already from the 2023, or not 2023, 2021, 2022 highs over here. That's really 2021. But as you can see, we have the weekly 200 moving average right down there, not EMA, but the MA. Weekly RSI was already oversold. Honestly, I think it is extremely likely going to get up here. All right. So this area between 404.37 and 410.29, I think has a very high likelihood of being tested in the short term, which is why I don't think these earnings are going to be bearish. Either they are not going to tank stock prices, or we're going to test, we're going to move up a decent amount before tech earnings this week. That's, kind of my outlook. Because I do think, it makes perfect sense to see a lot of these weekly charts advance. And then you pair that with a lot of the looks we have here on the daily time frames. Like you got this inverse head and shoulders pattern, all right? Picture perfect bounce off the 0.786 fib. All right, now you push it back up, okay? This is probably not going to reject again. You got above the 21 over here. It was a failed breakout. You got back above it right here, and now you're trying to take out the high. If this thing takes out 396.36, this move likely comes quick. All right. And that is a 2%, $8 move. Now, again, premiums are going to be juiced, Wednesday to Wednesday over here. There is a Mag 7 stock that you could be paying attention to that does not have juiced premiums. I mean, they're juiced, but they're always juiced because it's Tesla. Tesla is another bad boy. People are bearish on this stock because I understand. Okay. I get it. Tesla sales are declining. Everything is declining. Everything's terrible over here because Elon Musk is now a part of the government. It's terrible. Okay? So you think. But this thing looks like it is getting ready to do another one of its explosions. And I can't tell you if it's going to do this and get right through the 200 like it did over here, but it looks like it is going to. And if it gets over 291.85, you have a very nice base breakout right over here. You'll be above the 200. You will have a breakout from whatever you want to call this thing, double bottom, triple bottom, quadruple bottom, whatever the heck you want to call this thing. You'll have a breakout from it. You have the bullish divergence over here on the daily RSI. I'll just illustrate that for you. Okay, you made the lower low over there. You swept the low, and then boom, you popped right back up. This thing looks gnarly. This thing looks like it can explode. Now, I will just say, sometimes it goes right through the 21 EMA, like over here. This is kind of a similar look to what we have over here. My guess is this thing is going to go right through the 21 EMA. It doesn't have to happen, but I think that is the most likely outcome from this point in time. Everyone wanted to buy this thing lower. Well, guess what? The thing had real bearish news and didn't go lower. Instead, it actually started skyrocketing. It's now leading the Mag 7 higher. Oh, speaking of Mag 7, what about the Mags ETF? Well, this thing on Thursday broke out, guys, and you got the follow through on Friday. Above 46.68. This thing's going to 47.95, and then you test the 200 daily moving average. It looks pretty sick to me over here on the weekly time frame as well. You just got on every single chart we just took a look at, you just have this hump right above you that you got to get over. Okay. And if you can, good things can happen again. You're probably going to pull back and retest the 21 EMA if we just see things bust through it. So do not get the FOMO, because what did we go over at the very beginning of the video? I know we have all this mess going on right here. We'll delete that mess and we'll create a new mess. Rejection. It's going to happen in the golden pocket if it's going to happen, which means, all right, even if it goes a little higher, don't chase, because most of the time, even if you bust right over the 21 EMA on the weekly time frame and the daily time frame, most time frames, you come back to retest it, which would mean don't FOMO into here in the golden pocket. You ride things from where we are into the golden pocket. You take your profits, all right? And then if the market decides to be ever so nice to pull back for us, we can maybe play that. And then even if it's going to push all-time highs after that, it's probably going to pull back and test the 21 EMA. All right, so that is what we watch for after the. If we see things just, have these crazy bullish moves this week, we still are going to look for that pullback, because it just kind of doesn't make sense to not have the pullback. You either get rejection at the 21 EMA and you can go lower. All right, you have a few scenarios here. You get rejection right here, you go like that, and then you go like that. All right, that's scenario one. You have scenario two. You go like this, above it, pull back somewhere over there, and you find buyers at it, and you go higher. All right, then you have this scenario right here, rejection. You go freaking, like that. Okay, or you're going to consolidate over here in the next golden pocket. Going to be somewhere over here. Yeah, so you're going to have consolidation. And people like me are going to be like, guys, the buyers are going to step in. It's going to be right here at 510. All right. So those are really like all the scenarios we're looking at. And, all of them have a pullback involved. Do not FOMO. Okay. You are bullish when it makes sense to be bullish, but do not get bullish once we see the full move that we're anticipating. Once we see it, do not make that mistake. I just don't think it's going to be a good one. And I promise there's going to be opportunity every single week for us. Okay. You just got to be patient. But, we absolutely killed it this week. All right. We had, I don't know. I want to say, 5 to 10, 50 to 200% gainers this week. All right. That is all getting in and out, most of which on the same day. You guys could be doing that. There are easy trades that could be taken in this market every day. You have to be patient for them. This market is not going to reward people who are not patient. It's just not how that's going to work. Okay? But just know, in the back of your mind, probably going to keep advancing this week. All right? But Tesla over here, guys, above 291.85. Explosions can happen. I think very quickly we can get up to 326.59. And then if that's taken out, oh, baby, 373. We'll see. We will see. Okay, Goog, we already talked about at the beginning of the video. This is something to not be bullish. If you're going to be bullish this week, don't. I mean, it can bounce back from right here and push back up to 168.46, but I just showed you so many bullish looking charts that didn't fade on Friday, and this one faded all day on Friday. So under 163.24, you watch 158.80, and then you have the 154.61 gap below. That's given out. You have the 100% retracement of this whole move down at 148.20. On the upside, take out 168.46, you're talking 172.91 with the 200 daily moving average right above, in between 172.91 and 176.90. You expect sellers to step in right here. If they don't, 183.34 is on the table, which has the 0.618 fib sitting right on it. Okay? Now, we'll go over NVDA here, and then I'll go over some trade ideas for the week. All right, guys, so you did reclaim this big 104.77 level we mentioned here on the channel. All right. I know the Discord knew about that level. All right. That was our level over here. Either you're going to take a bearish, trade off of that, and we're aiming for down here at 100. You almost got it. All right. But then also above it. Okay. You're not getting bearish above it. You take out 104.77, you get above 106.79. The thing wanted 110, 115. It was just, that's what I was telling the people. It wanted 110, 115. It still wants to go higher. You can clear as they see it. All right. So don't catch yourself being bearish on all these bullish charts. It's not worth it. You're probably going to get that bounce, and then you can get bearish. All right. But very clearly, this can come up here to this 116 to 118 supply zone we got right up here. All right. That's going to have the 21 EMA sitting right above it around 119.50, 120. Then you have the 0.618 fib at 121.60. But, it's pretty close to 122.89 support, or not support, resistance. So, this area as a whole, I'll just mark it with the circle. That is what you're going to be paying attention to. Anywhere between 120 and 122.89, you expect sellers to step in over there. All right. And even if they don't, set yourself up for this. Okay. Either way, you get a pullback. It's not a good idea just to be FOMOing into it. You had plenty of chance to play upside. Just my take. Just my take. All right. Now, if you do pull back, you're looking to hold 106.79. You do not want to give up 106.79. Even if you get back down here, that is your sign of weakness. You just gave back Friday's big rally. Okay. So, ideally, if you're buying dips, you only want to be buying into 109.07. All right. So watch 109.07, 110.50, buy dips into 109.07. Get cautious underneath because that opens the door down to 106.79. If you give that back, then Friday could have just been a bull trap and then you go lower. If you give up 104.77, then all of it is a bull trap. You're probably making a new low. All right. Now that you got back above the key level, you want to continue pushing here. So you want to hold 109.07, and this is what you want to see. All right. Then you want to see the move up into our zone up here. Okay. That is NVIDIA. Now moving on. Henry Boys, great ideas for you. PTWO. Big breakout, big all-time high breakout. You based in between other highs and the all-time highs, and now you are exploding off of GTA 6 news. I think this is something that is going to continue moving. If it pulls back, clears the buying opportunity, but I don't know if it's really going to pull back for us. But if it does, we're watching dips into 220.93. Carvana, all right? We nailed this one. Congrats if you nailed this one this week. But, this was an absolute beautiful setup this week, and you got above 225.80, and you went. All right, so you went straight to target up here at 237.99. Almost hit it that day, but you definitely hit it the next day, and you printed this shooting star style candlestick. Now, I've seen this candlestick print over here. I'm just telling you, I've definitely had it just continue ripping. I think it was over here on me, where it just entered the gold pocket. I remember taking profits, and then it just continued ripping. Except it was a slow grind. I don't know if that's going to happen again, but if it does pull back to 225.80, clear as day dip buy. This is a strong weekly setup. This is like, look at this. You have this base. You're starting to break out. You have it on the daily time frame over here. I'm not going to call it an inverse head and shoulders, but you clearly do have this downtrend, this trend line you could have been paying attention to. You got the break and retest over here. And then once you took out the highs over here, 225.80, that was your signal that you were likely going to the next area of resistance, was up here at 0.618 fib, as well as your horizontal resistance at 237.99. Now, if price pulls back, it's going to be a break and retest. All right. And that is the long entry you are going to be taking for you don't have to, but that's the idea, for a move back up to 238 and then new highs above 242.79. Earnings are around the corner, but you can buy this Friday's expiration weeklies over here without juiced premiums. That is what I was personally playing. All right. Next one is RKLB, Rocket Lab. Weekly chart is starting to take off from the base. Broke above 21.34 this week. And you also broke above your previous resistance when you had the sweep above the top of your base, 21.34, at 22.10. Above 22.10, we're targeting 23.42. I also saw there was bullish flow that came over here for this Friday's expiration over here. And I do think this thing is probably going to continue pushing up here to 23.42. You catch this move, it's about 100% gain. Have fun with it. If it pulls back, dips can be bought into 22.10 and 21.34 if it gets extreme. At that point, you are playing for the hammer to pop up over here, the dozier hammer, where you then would reverse the following day. But I think this is likely just to continue pushing into earnings because we, are very close at this point, and this setup just started going. I think it's probably going to keep going for a little bit. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. All right. Last one I'm going to point out over here is MCD. This is one I pointed out sometime this week. Monthly time frame, weekly time frame, daily time frame, they're all aligning. And you just got to be patient. I honestly do think the setup's going to come probably the first week of next month. So I don't even know if it's going to happen next week. I'm just going to be fully transparent there. So, like, don't be betting the farm on these things. If you want to come see what I'm trading, we've been killing it. All right. And right now, I'm just saying, don't be betting the farm over here at McDonald's. Okay. But we are certainly going to be watching this bad boy. All right. And I do think we're getting a move off of earnings. Whether it be a gap up off of earnings or we push into earnings, I'm not sure. But one of those two is probably going to be the case here. You faked me out with the move above 319.72 this week. This is actually the only losing trade this week. It was over here at McDonald's. All right. It's okay. It was the lotto. And I do think this thing it's setting up for a big move, guys. I'm telling you. I've been watching this thing for years. This thing it's setting up. We got the move over here. We based here for a few weeks after this initial move. We were waiting for the pullback to get long over here. And then we got that move. Ever since then, it's been crap. It's been basing out in this big range, 300 all the way up to 320. It's technically all the way up here, but most of the price action with 320 to 300. That's $20. This thing on the next move, guys, can go $10 to $20 real quick. All right. You had this day right here. I remember this day right here. And then you did that the following days. Let's see if we get something similar. Let's see. All right. So McDonald's, keep it on the radar. And with that being said, guys, I hope you guys have a lovely rest of your weekend. If you enjoyed today's video, I know it was a long video. It was a 46-minute video. We covered a crap ton. And you know everything you need to make your freaking money next week. All right? I'd say time well spent. It's valuable stuff. If you agree, please remember to leave a like on the channel. It helps us push this out to more people. Helps me continue growing the YouTube. And, regardless, if you just want to say, hey, thank you, Henry, and you want to support me, all you have to do is leave a like. Other than that, guys, if you want to come trade with me, that link is down below. I am confident we are going to keep killing it, no matter what market it is. But this market it's looking pretty darn nice. All right. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.